All right, so yeah, OpenAid, build capable NGO websites fast. Um, my coworker John Clark actually submitted this originally and then was accepted through with Atom Design Group. And I'm one of the co-maintainers of OpenAid, a product owner, if you will, although it's an open source project, so really anyone involved is also the product owner. You can find out more about us at atomdesigngroup.com, and there's a link to the OpenAid project, although I'll share that a little bit later as well. So a little bit about Atom. We do web strategy design and development, like I was mentioning before the presentation started. So we've worked with organizations such as the World Wildlife Fund, USAID, Colorado Public Radio, Stanford. So really just we're interested in working with anyone doing good in the world. Yeah, we're based in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, and if you're eager and you want to just kind of play around with OpenAid while I'm giving the presentation, we just set up, this is in a beta version, so it should work, but openaid.me will spin you up a sandbox site that you can play around with. And openaiddistro.org has all kind of relevant links to the project site, to a demo site that you can check out as well. So Drupal, right? We're at a Drupal camp. Drupal's great. There's a lot of reasons Drupal is great. One of the big things is that you can build anything with it. A lot of times we use the metaphor of Legos to describe Drupal because you can use these components to assemble almost anything. You could build a sea dragon. You could build a life-sized replica of Batman, a weird sewing machine, like a strange mountain with waterfall coming out of its mouth. You could even build a working replica board game. Does anyone know extra nerd points if you can name this game? Anyone? Anyone? Yes. It is Settlers. Yes, nice job. That doesn't count. No. So the same thing is true for Drupal, right? You could build a site for the Grammys. You could build a what Atom did, we built a Colorado Public Radio site using Drupal. So it's extremely flexible, and this is really good for nonprofits and NGOs because it means you can get a site that's really tailored to your organization's goals. It also means, though, that there is some assembly required, and it can be kind of a mess and overwhelming, and also kind of cost prohibitive if you need to build something from scratch, because this is what you get out of the box with Drupal. And that's where distributions combine the power of Drupal and add some ease to it, because we can make certain assumptions about use cases and needs. And so OpenAid is an example of one of those distributions. And there's other distributions, some also geared towards the nonprofit sector or like government, open public, open outreach are probably the two most similar and active distributions. So those are worth checking out as well if you're interested in distributions. So yeah. And so with Atom, we, like I was mentioning, we work with organizations doing good, and there's a lot of feature sets kept coming up for us. One would be a blog, obviously something that almost every nonprofit site has. So here's the, here's a blog section for the, and here's the news section for International Center. So similar, blog, news. Then we have blog and news for our Knowledge for Health, global health organization. Another feature that we saw ourselves building was project mapping, which is a great way to demonstrate an organization's impact in a dispersed geographic area. So here again is International Center for Journalists and International Center for Transitional Justice, and then here for K for Health. And so we had done this, and We also had a conversation with Knowledge for Health, which is funded by Johns Hopkins and USAID, and they have a lot of smaller affiliate organizations that are kind of under the K for Health umbrella, and these smaller organizations were coming to K for Health's development team asking if they could spin up sites for them. And their development team, like a lot of like internal teams, they're very dedicated, capable individuals, but pretty small. So that was a real stretch for their capacity to be able to do that. And so we talked with them and came up with the idea of developing a distribution that they could use to then easily spin up sites for all these affiliate organizations. And so from partnering with USAID, OpenAid. And this proved to be really helpful for K for Health, not only for that ease of spinning up sites, but for a couple of other reasons. One is consistency, and so again, with like a small dedicated dev team, they wanted something that they could manage. And when you get into the situation of managing hundreds of sites, that can be kind of a maintenance nightmare. Something like this. And that's something we wanted to avoid, right? We didn't want them to have all these different sites running in different manners with different problems, and instead something more like this, where you have a lot that you're managing, but it's consistent. It's the same plate of food. You can carry it. If there's a bug in one site, it's going to be something that can be fixed and applied across all other sites. And so that's something that we've provided with OpenAid distribution. And once they've become familiar with this certain distribution, they become very knowledgeable, build out new features easily, apply patches, updates without too much trouble. The other thing that it provides is brand identity. Your organization worked after conversation, iterate with the designer, and you have the perfect brand. You could even of your brand. It's perfect. There's nothing you would want to change about this man. You have the hair, like that boy look. Sites, and so I feel. But here's the main Sierra Club website. It looks great. They have a good design. Then let's like check out what New Mexico's up to. Sierra Club website. Same thing in Wyoming. How about over in Michigan? Okay, so there's that consistency is lost, that brand identity that you work. That brand identity you worked so hard to create. So here's some examples of some K for Health affiliate sites. We have Voices for Malaria Free Future, mHealth Working Group, right? And it's all using that consistent OpenAid theme. And that's nice too, because then that's where constraint can be your friend, and people. There might just be a very vocal person or someone who has a lot of sway within one of these affiliate organizations and advisable, and can say, well, sorry, these are the constraints that we agree to as an organization in terms of design or direction. So you can kind of corral some of those like crazier off design suggestions or theming suggestions. The other advantage, so that's one use case. An organization with OpenAid are these organizations that are sort of like the middle child. They get forgotten about. They're larger than a smaller nonprofit or site that something like WordPress or just kind of a brochure site will suffice for them. And they need something a little more feature rich, but they don't have the budget that a larger organization is going to have to build something from scratch. And so that's where distribution like OpenAid can be really helpful, because and this is also helpful if you have so you avoid a situation like this where you get boxed in. And this happens a lot. And we sort of discovered this when we started to seek out nonprofits to work with to drive the development of OpenAid 2. So I'll talk about that a little bit further along. So there's a lot of issues with this. Information gets lost. Did any of you go to the content strategy meeting session yesterday? If you can watch the video later, but they spoke exactly to this of all this information kind of just being shoved into a platform. And this is another group that I admire a lot, and they do amazing work. And they're probably on the same page. They just don't have the budget to change it. I mean, this is a WordPress site with just so much going on, and it's because their organization is beyond a blog. It just can't handle all the content that they need to surface. I mean, it could also use some IA work, but really it's that boxed in situation. So yeah, just further down the page. And this impacts things like reputation, the ability to get grants, media attention, building your base of support when you go to a site like that and it's difficult to find out how to engage. And so this is an example of a small low budget group in Libya that they rolled their own theme, and so it's not like the greatest design per se, but it's clean and it's easily accessible, and so they took the OpenAid distribution and rolled their own theme for it. Another example would be Meta Peace, which is an organization based in South Korea. They do disaster relief work there. So again, like an organization that has like little to no budget can spin up a site, and OpenAid can accommodate all of the content and features that organization needs. They're not being boxed in. They're not being limited by something like WordPress or a simpler platform. We've had people get involved. I'll talk about this a little bit more, but we even had a hackathon happen in Mumbai, India. We didn't even know this group, and they just tweeted about it, and that was super exciting to see people just taking it upon themselves to create hackathons. So OpenAid. Let's talk about OpenAid now. So that's a few of the reasons to use a distribution, and that's kind of just for any distribution, not just OpenAid. So the main features of OpenAid is that you have a blog with author profiles associated with it. The blog is its own content type as well as author profiles, and so those then are entity referenced from the blog to the author. We have a homepage carousel, an image gallery, and each image is its own content type as well, so each image is a node. Partner pages, project mapping, you can read that. So here's a deeper dive into that. So starting with the homepage, we have the image carousel across the top there for featured content. Off to the right is what we call a hero statement. So this is just a block for your mission or compelling, attention-grabbing clause about your organization. Further down the page, we have the latest updates. And this can pull in any of those content types, although typically organizations set it to just their blog posts. The partner is off to the side, and so that will link to a specific partner page. In this case, this new case studies, this is just something that an organization added to their site that they just customized themselves, which created this weird white space off to the left. That, whatever, it's their site. And then, yeah, you have the project mapping off to the right. So selecting any of those points will bring up a pop-up window that you can then click into the main project page. The theme is responsive. And so as you scale down, we're using the flex slider image carousel, so it still works great regardless of device. And then the latest updates drops down below the image carousel there. So yeah, so here's a closer look at the project mapping. Currently set from Mapbox. And so on the back end here, you would select in which you want your project to display. And then here's a list of all of the projects. This is just the project's landing page listing all of them out. And then here's a little map into the body field. You have the project map there off to the right. And then right below, you see there's a link there for partners. So you can associate, if there are certain partners that are involved with a specific project in a particular way, you can feature them by referencing them there. You can also link to the resources in that downloads file or field. So yeah, further down we have the projects map off to the right, and another main feature is the resource library. And so this is a great way if you have a lot of internal original resources that you want to publish and share with the public, then you have the resource library, so it's its own content type. It's a simple view with some filters available to filter down by the resource type. And then here's a look at a resource detail page. The image gallery, like I said, the image is its own content type, so each image is a node, and then each node for a gallery, each gallery is a taxonomy term. And so here's a look at gallery with all of the image nodes, and then the specific image detail page. Finally, we have the blog, which again, here's a list if you scroll down. So this is just the teaser view, and then so it'd be a list of teaser views like this down the blog page, and then off to the right are those author profiles. And so here's a look at the blog detail page itself, and then an author profile page. And so when we first released OpenAid with K4Help and threw it up on Drupal.org, didn't do a whole lot with it, honestly. We're just kind of like, hey, if people want to use it, you can use it. And then I joined the company a little bit later, and my background is in like activism, nonprofit work, and that's how I got involved with Drupal. And so then when I learned that we had created this distribution, I got really excited. I was like, this is awesome. We should be doing stuff with this. And so they're like, cool, you're the product owner. Have fun. And so that's what I'm doing now. And so so we've, cobbled together some sprints, breathed some new life into it, developing an active user base and community around it. And so one of the first updates, there was just some low-hanging fruit that were like, we can improve upon this pretty easily. One was the admin menu. And so we were using this, what at the time we thought was kind of a cool admin menu, but then we quickly realized it's actually a huge pain in the ass. And so so we updated it to use the add minimal theme. It's a lot cleaner, kind of Google-like, boxy, clean, big buttons, and I've found that to be a lot better of an experience. And those of you that work for nonprofits know the importance of a good admin interface and the ability to easily manage content and author content. So we also changed to this drop-down menu instead of the weird like click expand sidebar thing. And we also fixed a few bugs along the way. And I was looking for bug images and then came across this photographer that just takes some crazy images of bugs. So I felt like I needed to share that with all of you. That I discovered this at 2 a.m. on the internet. Yeah. So there's one. Here's another one. Like, these are like that. Yeah, so it's like we need to be accountable, and we can actually finish this out. But you would think that's a good like, business model. Into it, like the idea. I'm like, so I was thinking about partnering with an organization. I was getting ready to prep. I'm like, maybe one for free, but he interrupted me. He was like, that's a great idea. Find the most broke organization that has no money, help them. That would be amazing. Um, And so we found all sorts of amazing organizations. This one, they do a lot of really good environmental justice work. Elephant Circle is based in Denver, and they do a lot of work around birth activism and birth rights. They were able to pass some legislation to ban the shackling of imprisoned mothers when they give birth, which seems like something that should already not happen, but they changed that for the state of Colorado. They've done improved home birth midwifery laws as well to make that more accessible and ensure that's safe. Mississippi Workers Center for Human Rights, they also do a lot of really good environmental justice work and housing rights work. The Navajo Nation was another. So there were all sorts. It's just really kind of work that they're doing. So that's when I get passionate. Finally settled on it's because they're geographically distributed. They have organizations in Detroit, Madison, Miami, New York, San Francisco, Chicago. They're making news constantly, and so they have a lot of content that they need to surface in an organized manner. They have a lot of original resources because a lot of them are doing like civil disobedience and direct action around evictions, and a lot of that is challenging the legal system, and those legal systems are different state by state, and so there's a lot of groups that are coming to them asking how to do this, and they're really overwhelmed with all of the questions, and they have resources to like, here, this is how we did this, but they don't have a site that effectively offers that in an easy to find way. So they're a pretty good candidate. So like the Chicago anti-eviction campaign is just using Blogger, and they're doing a ton of stuff, but it's really hard to see it all. Take Back the Land, which is based in Miami, like their site is pretty much just defunct. The best one is Eviction Free San Francisco. They have actually a pretty decent site, but they were the exception to the rule. So we worked with them. We established we figured out what their audience needs were, what their organizational goals were. Then we developed a content map like we normally would, and then put together some comps. And I think my slides are out of order, so I'll like transition to this other slide somehow. And so in the development of OpenAid 2, we were like, well, we really want to be able to develop OpenAid as we do our own project work with clients, but we can't because it goes back to the whole distributions make assumptions about what is needed. And that was just making too many assumptions for the paid work that we're doing with clients because it's highly customized. And so we came up with the idea of breaking out, if you're a developer, these modules are using features, which is pretty typical, and I think almost every distribution is doing that as well. But we decided, let's rewrite these so that they're standalone projects and can work with any Drupal site. And so we're calling these Atom modules. And so the benefit there is that they're easier to update. Right now, distributions, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest considerations if you're thinking of choosing a distribution, is that there's not really a good upgrade path from one version of a distribution to the next. So it's really good for the new theme, which is, and so features and elements. The marquee carousel is taking up the entire span of the page. The hero block is right there off to the right of the project map. The project map will look better when there's more than 2 points on it, but whatever. And then those three blocks of content there are featured projects, and so you can flag a project as a featured project. Yes?
Are your atoms like just like apps?
Kind
of similar to the what is it? OpenAid.
Open Public.
And
Open Atrium too. Yeah, maybe.
Is it the same exact concept?
It's not the same exact concept. I haven't worked with apps directly. I think the spirit is the same. But we're just creating. I'm not as familiar with apps.
But you're calling them apps.
Well, that's just a catchy name for the modules. It's just a module. It's a module like any other contributed module would be. And so I think I don't know. I think with the open public apps, I don't know if you can just take that and drop it into any Drupal site. Honestly, I don't know if anyone else does, but yeah. So instead of it being a module that's tightly coupled to OpenAid. Because right now, if you take the OpenAid feature blog module and try and use it on another site, it's not going to quite work. And so we're refactoring that so that any Drupal site could go download the blog, Atom blog, and boom, it works. And I guess I'm jumping ahead of myself, but that's okay. So we're talking with Open Outreach, the developers of Open Outreach, and it's a little late in the game to do this now, but for Drupal 8, we're like, let's build together, let's make these interoperable, and so if Open Outreach builds an event module, it's going to work with OpenAid. And we're talking now so that actually happens. And any other distribution can join that cause, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, that's fine.
What about multilingual? So this can be used in Latin America, in other languages. Are you guys contemplating that? Yeah,
well, with Drupal 8, that'll be nice because the multilingual is going to be handled in core. With this, it's a Drupal site, and so you can make it multilingual. It's not out of the box. We do have a translate widget, but just like Google Translate, it translates the content. So it's not truly multilingual. I think that and some sort of donation feature, and also connecting with some sort of CRM. Those are the top 3 feature requests we get. So that's definitely higher on the priority list in terms of next steps. But yeah, at this point, it's not truly multilingual. Yeah. Yeah, and So then, oh yeah, so here's scrolling further down the homepage, like similar, like here's the latest updates. And we wanted this to be pretty flexible. And this is one of those things, some organizations are going to have a lot of newer content, fresh content. And so something like a latest updates block is really helpful. But some organizations aren't going to have that, or that's going to become a burden, sort of to have to like feel you know, like featured content, and they can put things that are a bit more evergreen there, some resources that they want to feature that can stay up there for a while. The call out, each of those 3 text fields are customizable, and you can swap that out, the background, with a static image. A lot of times people want to just generate an image that they can then link to, and that can link to an internal or external page. The partners block, similar to partner page, and then a simple footer at the bottom. And so here's a specific projects page. And in the case of the Housing Rights Network, projects is going to be like renamed to organization. And so each of these smaller organizations will have their own kind of like mini site with contact block, description text. Here's the project map again. Off to the right is an image gallery that can be associated with a project or an organization. And then if there's several galleries, then you select the View All link, and it'll bring you to that. And then a latest updates block and a resources block, where again you can reference specific news articles or resources to the project. So other stuff. The multilingual donate, Civi CRM, or just CRM in general. I don't know, we haven't decided which one or several, is one of those priority items. We're also, this just needs to happen. It's really easy. We just need to like take some time and set it up on Pantheon. Just give them the repo and make it happen. OpenAid.me is up. It's in beta, but so we're working on making that like fully. Sometimes it won't work if you try and spin it up. We're also working with May 1st PeopleLink, which is kind of a hosting organization, but they're member-based organization. So they members community. They do a lot with the World Social Forum and U.S. Social Forum to provide. Well as possibly hosting OpenAid.me with outreach discussion. First Atom module has been created and will be added to the current OpenAid called Atom. Which is forward. So to get involved, and yeah, honestly, especially if you're developing. The soon, and so he's going to be out of pocket for a little bit, and it's like getting so close, and we're really excited to release it. So yeah, groups.drupal.org/OpenAid is also a great way to get involved. That's the group page. So that's a place to ask questions, to post announcements if you're organizing a hackathon like they did in Mumbai. Yeah, feature requests, that sort of thing. Although that should also be in the issue queue. It's fine if it's not. I'll just create an issue for you. But yeah, so like I said, there's the hackathon. You could do that as well. And we are actually partnering locally with an organization called Tech for Good, and are going to try and create a barn raising event pretty soon here for some local organizations. And of course, like downloading OpenAid. So there's the project page to download OpenAid. And from the project page, you can find the issue queue and see what there is to work on. Although really that's more like talk to me, because OpenAid 2 isn't really being tracked here. But current issues with the current version of OpenAid are. And so if you becoming more active on Twitter, so it's actually worth following. OpenAid distro now, I would say. Yeah, so that kind of sums up everything. I 3 glass. I don't ever drink intake caffeine, so I kind of just buzz through that. So we have a lot of answers, and people can.
Automate the geotagging. They're actually just manually.
Yeah.
What was the reason behind that?
I wasn't around for the original build.
It's not an OpenAid project, but a project that used related mapping stuff. And like, okay, well, geocode their addresses, and it worked for like their DC location. It worked for, I forget where one of their second locations was, but then like they had one in China, and the China one just didn't work. And yeah, it was easier just, especially for this, where we don't know what those will be, so give them a tool that lets them add it. But it's probably great to have a feature that just let people say, like, this is where it is, and try to find that. Because the open layer is like adding a point on there.
Yeah, more intuitive points, or doing the automated route. We haven't crossed that bridge yet, so it's not too late. Yeah. Yes.
How do you handle security updates? I see that your distribution is currently on 7.27, and there's one missing now, 7.29.
Right.
So do you expect your users to basically do the Drupal core update themselves, or do you test whether all your dependencies with all your integrated modules are working fine, and then update your distribution?
Yeah, we've been trying to be better about updating it with the security releases, but kind of as I was speaking to earlier, there's not a good update path once you've installed OpenAid to then update to the newest version of OpenAid. So we recommend that people install it, use it as a starting point, and then maintain it from there, and update Drupal core and update contrib modules on their own. Yeah.
So it will be kind of guys add functionality to get to that.
With the current setup with OpenAid 1, yeah, for sure. With OpenAid 2, with the Atom modules, that's another reason why we're doing that, is so that the current set of OpenAid users can update OpenAid and get the new features that we're spinning out for it. Yeah. So that's another advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have a question?
No, sorry.
Oh, that's
yeah.
I
mean, it does look though like you're getting together a lot for one of the other sessions that I went to this week with the Able Organizer that does have the donations and the CRM already involved, so they'll thought about combining with them.
Yeah, I've talked with Roshani a bit about that, and that again, yeah, it's kind of too late for Drupal 7 for that interoperability, but Drupal 8, yeah. So Nejo from Open Outreach and I have created some notes for like recommendations for Drupal 8 and like moving forward to have a similar approach. And then we're going to release that probably in a week or two to just the general public, like big call to action, like, hey, join us. Yeah, and I have specific contacts with Able Organizers, so we'll be in touch with them for sure. I don't know if they have plans for a Drupal 8 distro, but probably. It's kind of far out, but it's the right time to start thinking about it and talking about it. So, yeah. Yeah, I didn't mention that though, but yeah, Able Organizer is another really good distribution. It is newer, so it's definitely worth checking out when shopping around for distributions, seeing what's the right fit. Yeah. Any other questions, or I can let people go? All right. Well, thanks everyone. Yeah.
Small business were based in